Hello Professor, my name is Jashanpreet Singh and I am from Group 5. My group consists of Bensam Fernandez, Jivita Murugan and Priyasha Sharma. Now I'll present for the first question. As you can see, the first component of the first job is tfile input delimited, and here we give the address to this component to read the CSV file, and we use the tmap component to create all the mappings between this component and the output component for the database. Here you can see that tbdb output component to write the data into the database Microsoft SQL Server. Here we will execute the job, run the job. The job has been run successfully, so I'll open the Microsoft SQL Server, and here we save that all the data has been saved in employee.csv file. And now on to the job number 2. Here you can see the first component is again the same one, tfile input delimited, and we have the address here for the CSV file, COVID-19 CSV file, and here tmap to again create the mappings, and tbdb tdb output to create the database file again as an output. And these are all the settings, and I'll run the job again. The job has been executed successfully, and here we'll see that the data of the COVID-19 database has been created successfully. And I'll refresh this just in case to check if the tables have been created successfully. Refresh. We can see both the tables here too. Now to the third job. Here we read the data from the JSON file from this address and from this JSON file, and we use the tmap component again to map these operations. And here we use the store tfile output delimited component to store the data as the CSV in this address. Now I'll run the job here. As we can see, the job has been successfully run.
Thank you, Jashan. Greetings, Professor. My name is Priyasha Sharma, and now I will walk you through with the question 4, which is create an ETL job to read the data from the following XML file and store it into Excel file book.xml. First, we have tfile input XML to read the input XML file. The mapping that we see below is already configured in the metadata. The XML mapping config has been set as shown, and this is used in the job. Next, from the input, we connect the tmap operator that connects the XML file based on this mapping config to the output operator. As you can see, the columns from the left are the ones that we configured in the metadata. These are mapped to the output columns respectively. Then we set the tfile output Excel operator to receive the data and store it in Excel file at the given location. Now, let's run this job. As we can see, the output file has been generated successfully and the 12 records mentioned in the job is available here. Next, we have question 5, which is create an ETL job to read the data from the following MS SQL table to Excel file dim customer. So in order to perform this, we first load a data into MS SQL from an XML and then use that newly created table as the input for this Excel file. We can see two jobs are prepared. The XML is configured similar to previous question, and then we have the target as the MS SQL database table. We then use this MS SQL table as the input for the next job, along with the similar tmap operator that exports the data to the Excel file as mentioned in the location. When running the first job, we can see that a table is created in the SQL server. Then we run the second job, which creates a new Excel file in the location specified. Next, we have question 6. In this question, we have a CSV file, an Excel file, and a text file as inputs, which is all connected to the tmap operator. Inside the tmap, we can see that the primary key ID of the employee table is referenced by employee department table and employee address table so as to join these three tables together. And then all the columns are exported together into a single Excel file. Let's run this job. Once the job is complete, we can see that a new Excel file is created in the location containing all the details from all columns. I will hand over to Jivita.
Hello Professor. For the question number 7, I've created a ETL job in order to load the data from the product Excel file and use the product sheet and the order sheet, and in the join component I've used the key column product ID in order to join the tables, and then used all the columns and then configured using the DB output component in order to create a table called sales and insert the data into it. So once we run the job, it will create a table and then insert the data into it. And for the question number 8, I have used the Excel file in order to load the Excel data, active employee data, and using the mapping expressions, I have done all the mapping expressions required to create a new columns on the salary range and full name to concat first name and last name, and the to calculate the age, and then abbreviate the male and female gender, and then using the country code in order to map the country code to the country name, and then handling the zip code to follow the 6-digit code up in the padding day zeros to the zip codes if the length of the zip code doesn't match. So it will create a new columns and mapped it to the data, and once we run this data, it will be stored in the table called active employee, and it will insert the data into it. This is the 8th question, and as of the 9th questions, it is to check whether if the file exists, and if it is exist, we have to parse the data and store it in the DB, and if doesn't exist, we have to delete quit the process and say a die message over here. So here I've given the delimited data, I've used it and taken the file input and then stored it in the database and everything. So it will create a table here. Once we have all done running the jobs and it is completed, we can go and see the result in the database, and as we can see, this is the question number 7, the sales data, and this is for the active employee data. As we can see the zip codes and full names has been included, and the salary range over here, and the employee queue data here.
Thank you, Jivita. We'll now move on to the next question, which deals with the archiving of a list of files from a location to another location. So here, we used a tfile list operator to get the list of all the files, and in the directory, we specify the path of that particular folder which contains all those files. And to just check, we'll just verify that. So inside the dataset, we are having all these files, and then we are using a tfile archive job and archive format as zip, so as to zip all the files in this particular location to get zipped in this location talent output and dataset. So let's run this quickly. So once the job is complete, we'll go back to here, and here we can see a new folder output is created where the archived file dataset is present. Moving on to the 11th question, we have a t-loop operator. That means we need to we have the starting value as 101 and the ending value is 105, and we have to uh, iterate or increment the 101 with 1 each step. So let's start by running this, and let's move on to the next operator. So let's run this quickly. As you can see, 5 executions are finished over here, and even the iterate flow, we can see the number is set, and the output is actually stored in the location output q10.csv. So let's try and open that file. Yeah. Here you can see the 5 iterations, that is from 101 to 105 is present. Moving on to the final question of our project, we have a Excel file which we need to sort and then load it into a MS SQL server. So in this, as usual, we import the file. We will go on to the sort rows operator where we specify the columns on which we need to perform the sorting function. So moving it to the SQL database. So let's run this job quickly. Yep. So once this job is complete, we can go to the target folder. The date table is already created here. Let me just execute it again. And here you can see the table is created in the MS SQL server as specified.